I walk my dog pretty late at night, usually sometime between midnight and 1 a.m. Not the smartest habit, I know, but I live out in the woods, on the edge of town, with no real neighbors nearby. The peace and quiet helps me clear my head, and my dog loves it. Anyway, this happened about 3 months ago. It was around 12:30 a.m., and I was getting ready to take the dog out. I came downstairs and passed the hallway where my sister's old bedroom is. She moved out 6 years ago, and nobody uses that room. We basically turned it into a junk room. The light was on, the door was cracked open. That stopped me in my tracks. It wasn't a light that just flickered on or anything like that. It was fully on, like someone had gone in and flipped the switch. I figured maybe I left it on earlier somehow, though I couldn't think of why I would have been in there. I walked in to turn it off and closed the door, and that's when I saw the guy. He was crouched down, trying to wedge himself between the broken sliding closet door. That door's been off its track for years, and the closet is stacked with boxes and old junk. There's no way he thought he was really hiding, but he was tucked in there, completely still, as if I couldn't see him. I did not say a word, did not even flinch, just slowly stepped back out of the room, went to the hall closet, and grabbed the shotgun. I came back in, pointed the gun at him, and said, "Don't move, or I will kill you." He froze, then bolted, did not say a word to me. He just exploded out from behind the door, ran right past me through the hallway, into the garage, and disappeared into the woods. I could have pulled the trigger. I probably would have hit him in the leg or back, but I didn't. My hands were shaking so bad I didn't trust myself to even take the shot clean. The thing is, I recognized his face. About 4 days earlier, someone knocked on my front door around 6 p.m. I opened it to find this same guy standing there. Maybe late 30s or early 40s, wiry build, scruffy beard. He had that kind of desperate energy, talking fast, eyes darting a lot. He told me he knew my neighbor, which was weird, because I don't really have one close by. He said he was looking for old copper or scrap to sell. Said he had 2 young daughters and was just trying to get by. I did not think much of it at the time. I told him I did not have any copper, but I did have a couple of old car batteries out in the shed. Figured he could scrap those. He seemed thankful, shook my hand, said God bless, and walked off. Now, here he was, in my house, days later, trying to hide in my sister's old room. What really messed with me was trying to figure out how long he'd been in there. That bedroom had one of those high narrow windows that faces the back of the property. You need a ladder or a serious boost to get through it, but it's not impossible. I checked, and sure enough, the screen had been pried off. This makes me wonder if he'd been watching the house. Maybe he waited until my lights went off and I was upstairs, then slipped in. If I hadn't noticed the light when I came down for the dog, I don't know what he would have done. I didn't call the cops. I thought about it, even picked up the phone twice. But what was I going to say? That a guy who I gave some junk to broke into my house and ran off? I had no name, no plate, no footage, nothing really to go off of. And part of me, I hate to admit this, felt sorry for him. But that was the last ounce of mercy I had. I sat up all night with the shotgun next to me. Did not take the dog out. Just watched the tree line. I couldn't sleep. For the next week, I left the porch lights on, garage door locked tight, windows checked twice. My dog started barking at shadows, which just made me jumpy. Every creak in the house sounded like footsteps to me. But he did not come back, at least not that I know of. But every time I go downstairs and see that hallway, I think about how close that got to going real bad. I've installed motion lights and cameras since then, changed the locks, moved the shotgun closer to my bed. Living in the woods felt peaceful. Now it feels a little too quiet to me. If he ever shows up again, he's not walking away a second time. This happened about 6 years ago, but I still think about it every time I lock my front door. I had a guy who started stalking me after I met him at a mutual friend's house party. Nothing crazy happened at the party. We barely talked, maybe 5 or 10 minutes at most, but apparently that was enough for him. I started getting texts a few days later. At first they were normal. "Hey, was nice meeting you," that kind of stuff. But it quickly turned into, "I saw you walking your dog at 3:12 p.m. in a red hoodie. You look cute." I tried to ignore him, blocked his number, but the messages kept coming from different accounts. He started leaving little things on my porch. Flowers, weird handmade notes, a bracelet once. So I reported it to the cops and got a paper trail started. But without a direct threat, there wasn't much they could do. I lived alone in a small rental house on the edge of town. Nothing fancy, just a one-bedroom place with a trap door in the hallway that led to this weird little basement cellar. It was barely even a basement, just a dirt floor, furnace, water heater, and a little crawl space behind them. I had a habit of tossing cardboard boxes on top of the trap door to make the hallway feel less cramped. Anyway, my sleep schedule was garbage back then. I'd go to bed at 5 or 6 in the morning and sleep till noon. One night, or I guess early morning, I was still awake around 3 a.m., watching YouTube with my little dog curled up next to me, when I heard a noise. It wasn't loud, just a dull creak from the back door. I muted the video and sat there for a second. My dog's ears perked up. Then I heard the unmistakable sound of the door slowly opening. I did not even think. I grabbed my phone, scooped up my dog, and quietly moved to the trap door. I pushed the boxes off as quietly as I could, and opened it just enough to slip in. I closed it gently behind me, and sat on the top step in the dark. I turned my phone on silent, and texted my best friend. "Call the cops. Someone's in my house. I'm hiding." I could hear footsteps upstairs, 2 sets of them. One of them laughed. It was muffled but clear enough. "You check the bedroom, I'll check the front." My heart dropped. This wasn't a robbery. They were looking for me. I moved further down the steps, all the way into the crawl space behind the furnace. My dog, bless her, did not make a sound, just trembled in my arms. I lay there in the dirt, listening to them walk around above me. One of them stepped into the hallway, right above the trap door at one point. I heard him shift some boxes, but by some miracle, he did not pull it open. The cardboard must have looked untouched enough that he did not think twice. This was literally the longest 15 minutes of my life. Then I heard the knock. "Police, open up." The guys panicked. I heard thumping, running, a loud bang, probably the front door getting kicked in, yelling, more thuds, then silence. A few minutes later, I heard, "Ma'am, are you down here?" I came out shaking. My clothes were filthy, and I couldn't stop crying. But I was alive. Turns out, one of the guys was my stalker. The other was his friend. They were both arrested on the spot. The cops showed me what they brought with them. Duct tape, lube, rope, sex toys, a hacksaw, a box of industrial garbage bags. It looked like something out of a movie. They told me it was what they called a grape and disposal kit. Because of the planning involved, they were both charged with conspiracy to commit rape, conspiracy to commit murder, breaking and entering, and a few other things. The stalker ended up blaming everything on the friend and took a plea deal. He got 4 years and served about 2.5 before getting out on good behavior. His friend went down for 5 and is still in prison because he apparently couldn't stop getting into fights. I got a restraining order, which my stalker violated twice almost immediately after getting out. He would sit in his car a block away from my house. One time he sent me a message from a burner number. "You ruined my life." So I moved. Things were quiet for a while, until about 2 years ago. I got a message on Facebook from a woman I did not know. It was his girlfriend. She wrote a whole essay about how I was a vindictive whore who ruined an innocent man's life and that she was going to make me pay. I forwarded those messages to the cops. They visited both of them. I haven't heard a word since, but I still check my cameras every single night. This happened a few years ago, when I was about 8 months pregnant with our son. My husband was working 2 hours away that day, so I was home alone. We live a little out in the country, not too far from town, but far enough that you don't just get random people knocking on your door, especially at night. It was just after dark, maybe around 7:30 or 8 p.m. I was in the kitchen, cooking dinner. Nothing fancy, just pasta and chicken. Our blue heeler, Ruger, was lying in his usual spot by the back door. He was always calm unless there was a reason not to be. Out of nowhere, he stood up like a statue, stiff and alert. The hair on his back was raised, and he started growling low in his throat. That kind of growl that doesn't stop. At first, I thought maybe he heard a raccoon or something in the backyard. But then he barked, once, very loud, and ran toward the front of the house. That's when I heard the knock at the front door. It wasn't loud, just 2 knocks, but it was slow and deliberate. My heart was already pounding from Ruger's reaction, and the fact that I was 8 months pregnant did not help. I walked toward the door with Ruger pressed against my side. He was snarling at this point. He never acted like this before, not even when we had friends over who he did not know. Something about this was different. I peeked out through the little window next to the door and saw a man standing there, mid-30s maybe, wearing jeans and a dark hoodie. He did not look friendly. Ruger was trying to push his way in front of me, so I grabbed his collar before I cracked the door open, just enough to talk through it. "Can I help you?" I asked. The guy did not smile, did not even try to act polite. He just said, "We're here to pick up the washer and dryer." I blinked. "What?" He repeated it, a little firmer this time. "We're here to pick up the washer and dryer." I looked past him into the driveway. There was a small car out there. Looked like a Honda Civic or something close to it. There was no way you could fit a washer and dryer in that thing, not without strapping them onto the roof. That's when my stomach dropped. There's no washer or dryer here," I said. He took a step forward and said again, "I told you, we're here to pick up the washer and dryer." At this point, Ruger was fighting me hard to get to the guy. He was lunging his teeth bared, making noises I didn't even know he could make. I was gripping his collar so hard my arm started to shake, but I wasn't about to let go. The man saw how serious Ruger was, and I could tell he was starting to get nervous. He backed up a little, glanced toward the car, and then looked back at me. I did not give him another chance. "Sir, there is nothing here for you. You need to leave now." He stared at me for a second, like he was sizing me up. Then, without another word, he turned and walked back to the car. I finally let go of Ruger's collar, and he ran out onto the porch, but stopped at the top step, still growling, still ready. That's when I noticed there was at least 2 other people in the car. I couldn't see their faces clearly, but I saw movement, heads turning, someone in the back seat. They did not drive off right away. They just sat there for 10 minutes full. Ruger never moved from his spot. He was locked onto them, letting out these deep, low growls the whole time. I did not know what to do. I did not want to turn my back on them, but I needed something to defend myself with. I slowly backed into the house and grabbed the shotgun we keep by the door. I stood just inside the doorway, Ruger still outside, both of us waiting. I did not want to have to use it, but I would if I had to. Eventually, they drove off, but slowly, not in no rush, like they were trying to figure out if they should come back later. As soon as they were out of sight, Ruger came back in and stayed glued to my side the rest of the night. I called my husband in tears. He said he was already on his way home and would be there in about 15 minutes, but those 15 minutes felt like hours to me. We never saw that car again, never heard anything about it. I did file a report with the local sheriff just in case, but there wasn't much to go on. Looking back, I know they were not there for a washer and dryer. That was just the excuse. Maybe they thought a pregnant woman home alone would be easy. But they did not count on Ruger. He was my protector that night. He passed away last year, but I will never forget what he did. He knew before I did that something was wrong, and he never hesitated. He truly saved our lives.